Well, good morning and happy Wellness Wednesday. Hope you're having a great start to your morning. Boy, woo, I had very little sleep. Why? Because I went to see Les Miserables last night at the Fabulous Fox Theater. Okay, first of all, type in the comments how many of you have seen it. I don't care when. It's been here now 13 times at the Fabulous Fox Theater. If you're outside of St. Louis, maybe you saw it on Broadway, let us know. It is so good. And some people might say, Monica, you've seen it so many times. Do you need to keep seeing it? Yes, because each time you have a whole nother level of somebody else that was cast as one of the characters. You have the stage production looks so much different. Yesterday, some of the media had an opportunity to go and watch Les Miserables be brought in and assembled. It took 16 hours. They left Des Moines, Iowa at 9:30 Sunday night, and they were able to put this together for us in 16 hours with 11 tractor trailers and this entire crew. They've made 13 one-week stops already, and we're the 13th, and this is the 13th time that it's been at Fabulous Fox in St. Louis. So good. And if you've never seen it, just want to let you know, it's about 2 hours and 50 minutes. So it is a longer production, but so well worth it. Somebody was asking how many times I had seen it. I can't count. It was the very first one I ever saw when I was in my teens with St. Thomas Aquinas Mercy. They took us, and it's so good. So let me know as you're just getting ready to sign on. We're just getting ready to start the show. Have you seen Les Miserables? If so, how long has it been? And who's your favorite character, by the way? I love Jean Valjean. I love Cosette. Eponine has such an incredible voice. Fantine, Javert. I will say there was a guy who was cast as Javert years ago that I thought might have been a little bit better, but I mean, the standing ovations for sure. So Christy said, I haven't seen it, but I've always wanted to. Christy, be sure to go before the run is up. You never want to say, oh my gosh, I wanted to go so bad and I didn't get a chance to, or I didn't get tickets and I should have. So yes, Les Miserables just open and it is here for a week run. I highly recommend that you go see it. All right, let's get into the weather forecast. I know I love the music as well. Here is what you can expect for today. We were talking about the rain yesterday. Today, 59. We're not seeing any rain in the forecast. A little chillier though than what we experienced last week, right? 48 for the low tonight. Tomorrow, rain and storms, 60 degrees. We get into some scattered showers on Friday, mirroring the temperature for Thursday, down to 53 Thursday night, but it's going to get into the upper 40s Friday. Saturday and Sunday, though, no mention of rain right now. 59 for the high on Saturday with some sunshine. Looks beautiful. Sunday, 63 degrees. Then we get into very slight chances at the beginning of next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Just 20% chance on Monday with a high of 61, just slightly more on Tuesday with a 30% chance of 56. We get to 52 on Wednesday, but then look at Thursday and Friday. It's going to start getting much chillier as we get into Thanksgiving. Right now, partly sunny skies expected, 45 degrees, and then 42 as we go into Black Friday, as you're hustling and bustling around, realizing that we only have weeks away from Christmas. It's going to be chilly, so bundle up because Thursday night's 28. So all of you that get out early and do your Black Friday shopping, it is going to be very cold, most likely in the upper 20s, maybe low 30s. So just a heads up. Actually, I'd love to know that because I love to know our audience. Do you still do the Black Friday shopping, even though it's changed so much over the years, right? We've, of course, got Cyber Monday. We've got Small Business Saturday, which is so very important. But I just remember people getting in lines. I used to do it when I was in television. We'd obviously be out there reporting on all of you maniacs that would be overnight standing in line, getting the electronics normally was the big thing. Do you still get out just because of the nostalgia of it all? Do you still get out and do some of that Black Friday shopping? If so, tell me, what's the biggest bargains that you're looking for this year? What are the things that all of you that head out are looking for on Black Friday? Let me know that. Hey, I want you to know this. DoorDash says that some of your personal information could have been stolen. Yes, if you use DoorDash. I can't say that I ever have. This is for all of you that do. DoorDash is confirming there's been a data breach that exposed your information on some of the users and the dashers. The company says that the issue was traced to an employee falling victim to a social engineering scam. The data accessed in the scam includes your name, your phone number, your email, your physical address. However, Fortunately, the company says no social security numbers or ID numbers or driver's license information or your financial information was taken. DoorDash said it is investigating the breach, reached out to law enforcement to prevent future scams, by the way. The company says it has rolled out security enhancements. They've hired an external firm to assist in the investigation. No word right now on how many people were affected by the breach, but I would imagine, just like anytime I've had something that has been stolen or, breached, I should say, that I've gotten a letter in the mail. So you'll probably do that if you haven't already, but I just wanted to give you a heads up because, again, that's one of the top stories, as well as this. Toyota is recalling more than 126,000 vehicles, including Tundra models, over a potential engine failure. So the automaker said debris from the manufacturing process could contaminate the engine, could cause main bearing failure. In turn, that could cause the engine to stall or even a loss of drive power, increasing the risk of a crash. So the recalled vehicles are 2022 through 2024 Toyota Tundra and Lexus LX models, and then the 2024 Lexus GX with the V35A engine. The vast majority of the vehicles are Tundras. Now, Toyota said they're still working on a solution. Once it's fixed, Toyota will perform the repairs free of charge. The recall is an extension of an issue reported last year in which more than 102,000 Lexus LX models and Tundras were recalled. And if you watch this show regularly, I always feel like we have a recall almost every day. All right. We've been talking about AI for the last couple of years, weighing in on whether you think it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'll tell you what, from a chat GPT standpoint, it's definitely helped access for things that we've been needing, and then help in assisting for some levels of things. You tell me, has it helped you in your personal life or your business life? Have you thought about some of the toys you're getting the kids for Christmas? Well, there is a holiday safety alert of AI toys posing a risk for children. Yeah, this is kind of crazy. The U.S. PIRG Education Fund's 40th Trouble in Toyland report tested 3 types of AI toys designed for young children and found that the chatbots generate content inappropriate for their target age groups. Can you imagine? You've got some toy and it's cussing to your 3, 4, 5-year-old. A new safety alert is warning parents about artificial intelligence toys, as of course the holiday shopping season is underway. The toys were found to provide instructions for dangerous tasks, such as how to light matches and address adult topics. Okay, so there's a full Trouble in Toyland report that I'm going to drop in the comment section right now. So if you have kids, you have grandkids, nieces, nephews, I want you to take a look at this because, again, you want to make sure that the toys you're getting are not on that list. I was at church and I had forgotten that I had seen this in the news. It's some scary things that could take place with AI. I don't know if you saw this, and I don't remember what area it was, but I saw a report of a person who took their life because AI told it to. That's the thing. And they actually addressed that at church or at service this past weekend. That's the scary side of what's out there. I see the beneficial side. I see it helping us, advancing technology. But those are the scary things that are out there. All right. I was so hoping I was going to tell you that the St. Louis Blues won today. I saw the game was tied up. Nope. The Blues on the road, losing to Toronto. The final was 3-2. So tomorrow, let's lick our wounds and try it all over again. It's the Blues and the Flyers. Tomorrow, puck drops at 6 p.m. The Blues are still on the road. On Saturday, it's a 2:30 afternoon game, and they will be playing against the Islanders. All right. Here's your National Day of calendar. On tap today, GI's Day, National Education Support Professionals Day, National Play Monopoly. Okay, I swear that's one game everybody always says they don't want to play because everybody's a poor sport. National Carbonated Beverage with Caffeine Day. What's your favorite caffeine? Is it coffee? Is it really strong tea? I like tea, but you put some matcha tea in front of me, woo, I'm bouncing off the wall. All right, let me say hello. There wasn't a lot going on in the news today. And so I'm not giving you, right. So if you know this show, we give you news you can use. So, passing things along, if it doesn't affect you, pass it along to your family or friends. Let me say good morning. I said good morning to Christy already. Christy said she had never seen Les Miserables loved the music. Julie, good morning. Linda, good morning to you. Matt, good morning. Julie, good morning. Friends from Ohio Valley on vacation. Sean, hope you're having a great day. Good morning, Stephanie. Always worked Black Friday. Oh, Stephanie, where'd you work? Kathleen, good morning to you. Babs, good morning to you. And Stephanie said they played better last night. I didn't get a chance to see it, obviously, since I was at the Fox. I'm a Southern girl, so sweet tea. Oh, sweet tea is my favorite, she says. All right. So for me, yes, I do like going to the South, and I won't drink sweet tea here regularly. I think it's a thing. You got to go to the South, and you just, hey, when in the South, you have to do it. Linda, good morning. I hope you're having a good day as well. What's your favorite drink? Let me know that, whether it's alcoholic or non-alcoholic. And by the way, we are doing Wet Your Whistle Wednesday. So we do 2 shows on Wednesday, 4:00 this afternoon. I will be joined by Michelle. A lot of you knew Michelle. She was my assistant for about a year and a half. She's been out traveling. And so she was like, Monica, every time I come back from one of my travels, we should make a drink from where I've been. So she was in France. We did that. She was in Tuscany recently. So we've got an Italian themed drink on tap for you. And then we're going to do a little pairing, probably with some kind of seafood, and then just catch up about a whirlwind of trips that she's been on. So enjoy that. It's really a lot of friendship and kicking back and sometimes introducing you to some incredible wine and bourbons and non-alcoholic mocktails, things like that. So join us 4:00 this afternoon. Not only that, I want you to join us on December 12th. I'm so excited, I should say, and looking forward to sitting down with our dear friends, Mark and Michael, who own Christopher's. Their theme right along with ours, being kind, right? Theirs is be kind, gift kindly, gifting and accenting your life. It's the St. Louis premier destination, Christopher's in Kirkwood. Life is like a precious pearl. They're celebrating 30 years. Can you believe that? And they have the family of brands. Christopher's and Mark Anthony's became one. So it's your Christopher and Ma gifts. We are doing a mobile Monica from there, December 12th at 7 a.m. So not sure if you had heard about that just yet. That's one of our big shows that we have on tap. 2 big shows, by the way. We've been featuring Cottleville over the last couple of days. So that's the big 750th holiday show. Can't wait to meet some of you maybe for the first time, see some of you that have been at some of our other events. Let me know if you're able to come by. I put an event out on Facebook, and I would love to see you, even if you're running by and grabbing a quick coffee or tea or breakfast. You need to fuel yourself. So come on by. Upshot Coffee's where we're going to kick it off. That'll be at 9 a.m. And then we're going to do some shopping with you as well. We've been featuring all of Cottleville as much as we can, I should say. Not all, as much as we can, because there's so much there. It's a really cute, quaint town that has just grown and grown and grown. So I hope you've enjoyed the backstories that we've given you over the last couple of days, talking about Blooming Daisy Marketplace, Plank Road Pizza, Cookies and Cream, a new boutique to come that was in the old Cookies and Cream building, as well as Susan Brewer Real Estate, the Craft Cottage, Oh My Posh Boutique, all of that. We're excited to showcase coming up December 5th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's the big party. All right, let's see. Linda, good morning. Stephanie says Embassy Suites and St. Anthony's, Mercy, that's where she works. Okay, I love Tuscany. Well, you're going to love this afternoon show. Rose, coffee. Did I say coffee? If not, my favorites, but hardly have it. Frozen lemonade. Oh, and frozen Arnold Palmer from Dough Depot. Oh my gosh, in Kimswick. What a great place. Hey, as you're just getting started this morning, good morning to all of you. Just getting ready to sign on. Did you see the description? We have a really awesome show on tap for you today. Maxine Clark. I mean, come on. What an incredible woman. First of all, what an incredible businesswoman. And then what a, not only an entrepreneur, but a philanthropist, and what she's been able to do. So she actually stepped down as the CEO almost 11 years ago. What has she been doing ever since? That's what we want to find out. She's my guest today, and I'm super excited to hear all about, and hopefully for some of you, get some ideas of maybe this passion project you have in your mind of what can I do? Well, she'll inspire you. We have Maxine Clark on today's Real Monica Adams Show. Next. And we want to thank Faith Berger for being one of our sponsors. She, of course, provided that beautiful picture that we have on set. You can find out more about what she could do for you, faithberger.com. Also, the Canvas for Kids that she works with so closely, canvasforkids.org. Follow her on social media as well. And if you're looking for some new design work, she is an incredible interior designer as well. All right, welcome back to the show. As I mentioned, Maxine Clark is who we're going to get a chance to sit down with today. Before we do that, though, I want to let you know, if you haven't told me that you want to be in the Crunch Fitness drawing, make sure you do that, because we have 2 more to give away to you, hopefully to get your 2025 wrapped up and going into 2026. Don't wait until New Year's resolutions. You can get on it now, and I do hope that you win. So good luck to you. All you have to do is drop a comment or shoot me an email and say, I want all in to the Crunch Fitness drawing. All right, stay tuned. Maxine Clark next. Pretty incredible, right? As we went into the break, we gave a very long background on Maxine Clark. I know you've heard her name, and you probably have one of the bears. That's how you know her, but she's been doing so much more from an education standpoint, which I really, really love, and that's where her passion. In fact, if you know the story of Build-A-Bear, and when I was reading through her story, it was, wow, I did not realize it was that many years ago she stepped down from the CEO. Well, that's not how we call it. So we're going to talk with Maxine about the actual position itself that she stepped down from, and it continued to thrive. Do you know that it's just been, a few years ago that they celebrated 25 years, over 600 stores, and we're talking thousands and thousands of bears. Well, the bear is going to show up on today's show, by the way. Let me bring her on. Maxine Clark, it is such an honor to have you in studio with us.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
I've got some little nuggets. A friend of yours who we were just talking about off air. So how do you know Professor Jerry Schultz?
She used to work at the May Company, and
Okay.
we knew each other from, our retail days, briefly running through the hallways. But you never know where you're going to cross paths, and that's one of the great things about St. Louis is you run into people all over the place, and
Right.
you have a connection to them. And I think that's one of our strengths is it's a connected community.
Absolutely. And she said, Monica, please tell her I said hi. Give her a hug from me. And she said, here's the thing that I love. Maxine just wants to be there and wants to help. And she called and asked if you would be a speaker at the entrepreneurial. She does a lot of entrepreneurial work at St. Charles Community College. And there you were stepping up. What do you feel, because all these young innovative entrepreneurs are out there listening. What do you think you got back from them and they got from you from speaking that day?
Well, they keep you on your toes. I mean, I think one thing that happens to people as we, stay in our own groove is we stay in our own groove, and we don't realize sometimes what's going on around us. I've always been a curious person, and I'm consumer obsessed. I want to know what people are thinking, what do they want to buy, because sometimes what they want to buy tells you a lot more about them.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if they're in the market for buying things that are for healthcare, they may have a sick family member or be sick themselves. So how do you, market to that or help them with that? The other is if they're looking for a college. If I hear somebody's interested in going to WashU or SLU or Webster, or the community college, I'll say, oh, I know somebody there. Let me get you in touch with them so you can get a real connection. You would do that? Of course I would do it. Why not?
Right.
So I think that for me, you never know where your actually paths are going to cross in the future. And when you start out young in careers like Jerry and I did, you're going further, a whole lot further, especially when you're ambitious women like we were.
Yes.
And your paths are bound to cross. And that's a joyful encounter, by the way.
Well, and you have a lot of connections. You just mentioned several universities. I love this. Maxine is a graduate, first of all, of the University of Georgia, but holds an honorary Doctor of Laws degree from Washington University in St. Louis and St. Louis University, and a Doctor of Humane Letters and Education from the University of Missouri St. Louis, and from the A.T. Still School of Oral Medicine, and holds an honorary associate's degree from St. Louis Community College. And back in 2006, by the way, she published her first book, The Bare Necessities of Business, Building a Company with Heart. And we're looking at these incredible pictures. So let's go back. Okay, so let's talk about the very beginning. Everyone knows the name Maxine Clark from Build-A-Bear Workshop. But now it's more and more, we're going to get into the kindergarten through 12th grade from an education standpoint, where your passion is. We'll talk about Delmar Divine coming up as well. But how does this ever come about? And did you ever, in the time frame of your mind when you decide to do this, did you ever think it would be as large as it is and impact so many people across the world?
I did, actually. I wrote a 10-year business plan. I brought it with me so I could show it to you. That is really I had to convince myself leaving a big job and a high-paying salary was worth it. And if you can't convince yourself, then you can't convince someone else. And there are a few things that are really important about starting your own business, because it is a 24/7 situation. And if you have your own money, which I did have to start, I didn't have it to grow, but I had the money to start. You really have to get out there and do it. And you have to make sure you're protecting your intellectual property, all of those things. So I had to convince myself. So I wrote a 10-year plan. Nobody writes a 10-year plan anymore, because you can't plan past 3 months.
When did you write this?
In 1997, 96, 97.
96, 97?
Right before we started.
And right before you started.
Yeah. And we've exceeded all that. We actually have the amount of stores we said we were going to have, but they turned out to be more successful than what I originally planned. And that's the way you want it. You want to be aggressive, but conservative, so that you can watch your cash flow and make sure that you have the money all throughout the process to run the business. And so many people just start and go. And I don't object to that. I just think you have to have a better plan for yourself. And it depends on where you are in your own life. What age you are, how many children you have, what do you have a mortgage, you have to think about your whole life, because it becomes your other life becomes your business. And I was always a creative person. I loved creating businesses. Now, I did it on somebody else's nickel. I worked for the May Company for 21, 22 years. And I was always creating new things for them. And that's how I got to the top of the company. But I just thought it was time, because computers were out there coming up in 1996. Kids were starting to play on them. It wasn't as fast as it is now, but I knew that there would be time for something soft. And everybody loves a teddy bear. And teddy bears
They make you smile, right, Maxine?
They do. And I knew that also adults would be interested in it, because we all had them when we were children. But I didn't know how big a portion of our business that would become. But as we've grown older, and we're almost 30 now, people that grew up with Build-A-Bear, that were children at Build-A-Bear, now have their own children, and they come into Build-A-Bear, or they have their own things that they collect, like Hello Kitty or Pokemon or something, and they want it in stuffed animals as well as they want it in plastic characters. So we're very fortunate that we created such a wonderful impression on them when they were children. And a memory. And that's really what we were building. The teddy bear was just the tool, but we were building memories.
Well, and building memories, again, if you're just tuning in, Maxine Clark, we're talking about Build-A-Bear Workshop, so many levels, again, over 600 stores. And how many? 250 million stuffed animals have been sold. In 2025, Maxine was named to the International Toy Hall of Fame. What did that mean to you?
Oh, that was amazing. It was it's a really special night, because the people that are in that are people that created Barbie and Rubik's Cube and Monopoly and all kinds of famous toys. And so I was incredibly honored. And for me, even though I retired from Build-A-Bear in 2013, the best thing I ever did after starting the company was making sure we had the right successor. And Sharon Price John, who is the CEO of Build-A-Bear, has done a great job. I mean, we've had our ups and downs over the years, meaning business is up and down all the time, and always challenges. But Sharon is the president of the International Toy Association. And so for her and I to be there together on the stage, and we have such a good bond, and we've built something together from what I left it as and what she brought it to. And I left right after the recession, and the recession was really tough on the business. I wanted to make sure there was a new person that could come and kind of add value to the business dramatically. And Sharon and I had similar background, but we've really become, good friends and confidants. And she doesn't always do everything the way I would do it. And some things I said, just go for it. Like, who knows? It might really work. And 99% of the things work. And some of the things that we did that she tried to do over and put her touch to it didn't necessarily work. So it's really interesting how the customer knows who you are. When you know who they are, they know who you are, and they trust you for that. And so she's built that trust, continued to build it. We have a wonderful team of people under her. We always have had a good loyal team. People wanted to work for Build-A-Bear, and we made the working at Build-A-Bear a wonderful experience.
The trust is what I was just going to bring up. This has come up on many shows of people that say, I'm trying to learn how to delegate. I want to be able to let my ego go. And this is my baby. But at some point, again, I mentioned earlier, so in 2013, Maxine stepped down from her chief executive bear role, right? The CEB role. When you did that, for all of those that are listening that are running businesses, what was going through your mind at the time? Was it at all hard to say, this is my baby, but I trust this team to not only take it and carry it forward, but maybe even go into directions I never even saw it going to?
Well, I started Build-A-Bear. I was 48 years old, so I knew I had, X amount of time. And I had other dreams in my head that I wanted to do.
Right.
So I wanted to get it going. And I intended to stay with it. I'm still on the board. I'm an emeritus emeritus board member now. But I go to all the board meetings. I engage with the board members. I engage at BQ all the time. Whenever there's a special event, I'm always there. And Sharon and I are working together on the Build-A-Bear Museum that'll open up hopefully by our 30th anniversary.
Where's that going to be?
Downtown at our World Bear Quarters.
Oh, fantastic.
Right off at Union Station.
Love it.
So we're really excited about that. And I've always wanted to do that because I saved every single piece of paper I ever wrote a note on. Now, she won't have all of that in there. but when I went to Disney World, the first time I went to Disney World, I spent like hours in that Disney museum where Walt Disney actually didn't throw away anything. Like he kept all of his little sketches, and I thought, I'm going to do that too. And I started, when I come up with that, right, I save everything. So I have all kinds of things like that. But for Build-A-Bear, it was really important. The designer who designed all of our first clothes, I have all the patterns, I have all that. We have it built at Bear Quarters, but I saved it. It could have been thrown away easily. I probably saved every newspaper article we ever, I haven't saved every Google post. But,
exactly.
But I believe in establishing something that people can look to and say, I could do that, was important about, the archives of Build-A-Bear, like it was for Walt Disney or anybody who's created something that children are engaged with because and families are engaged with because those memories are really important. You become an important part of their life, so you better do it right.
Right.
And we wanted to be able to save that too. And we have tons of video and commercials that we've run. And a funny story, a little girl who was in one of our very first commercials calls me up one day, no longer a little girl, and she said, do you remember me? And I said, of course I do. And she said, I want you to know I just got accepted to Washington University, and I'm going to come there with my dad. Would you all meet me? Would you meet me there? And of course I met there. And she said that one of the reasons she even knew about Washington University was when they came to town to film this commercial. I drove some of the kids to the studio, and I drove by WashU, and I said, this is WashU. Hopefully you all will be smart enough to get in there one day. And she said she was going to go to WashU.
Oh my gosh.
So you really don't know your impact that you can have on someone by just a simple sentence. As I overheard your conversation with the young man that works for you, and you're so supportive of his work and his schooling, that's not small, that's big. And I can still remember those people that encouraged me. A lot of people didn't because I was a woman in the 70s growing up in the business world.
That's where I was going to go next.
Yeah, they actually thought, well, she's going to get married and have babies. And I knew that I was there to learn. I actually did not plan to go into the retail business. I was going to law school. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a Supreme Court justice when there weren't yet women in quantity in the Supreme Court. But I wanted to be a civil rights attorney. I grew up in the 60s when this was all going on, and women were gaining more and more rights. I mean, not until 1972 could we have our own checking account.
Right.
I don't think people realize that.
Absolutely.
So those were important times. And when I went to work in the May Company to pay for college, my boss got sick, and I had to fill in for him. And so I didn't know anything. I mean, I was a young kid right out of college. I had to ask a lot of questions. And the vendors that we bought from were so worried that Harry was going to come back and lose his business because I would have destroyed it. Instead of thinking, boy, she's young, she's a customer, she knows what she wants, and we don't have it. So we went about recreating like clothing for women to wear to work instead of bow ties and men's suits. And it was really, really successful. And when Harry came back, he got the biggest bonus he ever got. And he was so kind, he split it with me. I wasn't bonus eligible. So that was a kindness that was taught to me by my supervisor. Because I didn't expect it at all. So the surprise was wonderful. And then the company was so surprised. The CEO of the company, who was here in St. Louis, David Farrell, he called me on the phone and wanted to know how did I do it. And I said, well, I asked a lot of questions, and I didn't know anything. I wanted to, be as successful as possible. It was really fun. And a couple months later, he came for a visit to Washington, D.C., where I was working, and he made a point to tell my boss that he was going to meet with me. He wanted to meet with me at Tyson's Corner, our store in Tyson's Corner, and at 7 o'clock in the morning. So we got our department all looking really spiffy, and he sat there. I was standing in that department with him for probably 5 hours. And when something like that reverberates through the company, he was setting an example that when you do something like this young woman did, you're going to get my attention, and you could be moving through the company with that success. And so I did, and I got to work for him for several years, and then moved up the ladder to Venture Stores, then Famous Bar, then back to Venture Stores, then to Payless, which Payless was a company. When I was on the team with Mr. Farrell, I was working on the acquisition of Payless for the May Company. So that was a full circle moment. So I had none of those plans. I was going to be a lawyer.
I was just going to say, and we say this all the time. I know you're all probably sitting there at home going, I know what Monica's going to say next. I'm very faith-based, and if you are, and if you're not, it's fine, but something's going to guide you. You can have in your mind, this is what I'm going to do, and then all of a sudden it is, how did my pattern and my path just shift? Yeah. And are you willing to follow that? So here she's telling you, you know about her story through Build-A-Bear, but did you know that that's not what she originally set out to, it had the intention to do? Now you do. Before we go to the break, I want to ask you, so we have friends again in Professor Schultz. She told me to ask you about, this is something from, I think you were younger. She said, ask about, is it a red pen moment?
Red pencil.
Red pencil. Tell me about the red pencil.
My first grade teacher, Mrs. Grace, who was the most wonderful teacher. And those days you went to first grade, you didn't know how to read or do anything. You just went to, if you were lucky enough to go to kindergarten, it was because you just played around in the sandbox. But it taught you social skills. Anyway, Mrs. Grace taught us everything that we know. And on Friday, she would take her red pencil that she graded our paper with, and she would go to that crazy pencil sharpener that kind of, made you squeal, yes. And she'd sharpen it really sharp, and she would give it away, not to the student that was the most well-behaved or the student that was the smartest or perfect attendance. She gave it to the student that made the most mistakes that week. Imagine that, and you're just, first grade, you're raising your hand. I know the answer, teacher. Call me. You're not thinking you're wrong, no matter how many pencils you get. And I had a lot of pencils because I loved the questions. I loved learning. I loved going to school. I loved my teacher. She set such a good example. And I had my little cigar box with my scissors and glue and everything. I had a lot of red pencils. So for me, that was the start of being an entrepreneur, although she never said that, and I don't even know if the word was used very often, but I thought, I can make mistakes, and you do make a lot of mistakes in business.
That's what you learn from.
And one good thing about the retail business is next day comes along, you can change it. Mm-hmm. You can lower the price, you can move the goods around on the floor to find a new way the customer to look at it from a different angle, and you can change your destiny. And so that was the perfect career for me. It wasn't what I intended to do, but one of my professors in college, Dr. Carter, who was a phenomenal marketing teacher, he told me that he thought, if you're going to get a job, get one in retail. You've got a knack for it. You care about the customer, and he taught us consumer marketing. And so, to me, that was just who I was. It wasn't hard work. I was like, what do I want? What do I need? Your
passion was in there.
Yeah. What am I looking to buy? If you're going to go to an interview, you want the certain outfit. If you're going to go to a party, you want a certain dress. And I think tools for your family, cooking, whatever your hobbies are, you want to buy the stuff that goes along with it.
Sure.
Where is it? How do you find it? Mm-hmm. And in those days, we did not have consumer information like we have today. In fact, department stores just had their own charge account, like just Famous Bar had its own Heck Company in Washington. And I studied those charge accounts to find out, the one in Washington, to find out what people bought together. Like if they bought that dress, what shoes did they go with? What cosmetics did they go with? And that taught us a lot. And we did a catalog, early day catalog with co-op advertising from all the vendors that the customer told me they were buying from. And that catalog sold out in record time because that was what people wanted. Like, duh, but it was not as many women as we needed in the business at that time. Yes. And we knew what we wanted. And women also bought for their husbands. Mm-hmm. So if a man was looking for a suit and a tie, you probably wouldn't work on a catalog for him. You would work on the catalog with a woman, and he might be standing next to the woman in the really pretty dress. And you say, I want to get my husband that suit or that tie. Mm-hmm. So it's just knowing who you are. And I always did know that I had creativity, that I was a hard worker, and that I was willing to try new. I was never afraid of trying something new. I was not a risk taker in that sense. Like I wouldn't drop off an airplane, but I would try new things.
You weren't
What do you have to
afraid.
lose?
You weren't afraid of failing.
No, I wasn't afraid of failing because I had the red pencil.
Exactly. That's it. I'm glad that she gave me that little nugget. All right. If you're just tuning in, Maxine Clark, you know her from Build-A-Bear Workshop. But what is she doing now? And what is she passionate about? We're going to do that transition. I also am going to give her a little nugget of something that my director, Zach, has. I wish he would have brought it in, but he was like, I got to find that. Again, if you have any questions or comments or you want to drop in for Maxine, we'll make sure that she gets those as well. Don't go anywhere. More of the Real Monica Adams Show to come.
When you want to feel, you work out at Crunch. You don't go here, because here feels bad. But here we help you feel good, feel strong, feel rejuvenated.
Join Crunch Fitness today.
And welcome back again. Thanks so much for tuning in, whatever platform you're watching on. And remember, if you're not a social media fan, that's when you tell your friends and family to go to YouTube and just seek out The Real Monica Adams. Again, we are visiting with Maxine Clark, Build-A-Bear Workshop. So what is she doing now? A lot of you hopefully have these in your home. I was telling you that my director, Zach, has a dinosaur. So this was this like a kind of, we do pop-ups now, right? It was a temporary in Kansas City?
It was a temporary in Kansas City, and then we had a permanent store at the St. Louis Science Center that had dinosaurs in it, and that was there for about 10 years.
And then you have in Orlando.
In Orlando, we have it at the T-Rex Cafe, and we're building a new flagship store in Orlando that'll open up next year, and it's probably going to have, I don't know exactly what's going to be in it, but I think they might go after the dinosaurs there too.
So if you missed the first part, go back. Obviously, that's the beauty of streaming. You can go back and watch the opening segment of this. When you have the idea and you start this in 1997, by the way, you took it to the New York Stock Exchange within 7 years, which is just absolutely incredible. Her story is just going to go on and on. We would have to be here for hours for me to really even scratch the surface of Maxine Clark. But when you start a business and you think, oh, everyone loves teddy bears, but it's not just giving them a teddy bear. When did you decide that you were going to allow us to have a role in the building of it?
Well, think about all of the things we like as children. When I left the May company, Payless Shoe Source, the president of Payless Shoe Source, the largest shoe company in the world at the time, I knew that it was time to do something a little bit more hands-on, and I remembered I wanted to get my kid think back, because I was really working at a very high level in the largest company in the May company. And it was stressful. It was, I'm not afraid of stress, but I really wanted to get back with the consumer. And I needed to get my kid think back. So I went out with my friends' kids. I don't have kids of my own, but I always spent time with my friends' kids. And I picked them up after school and listened to them. We did art projects in my basement, in my craft room, in my house. We went shopping together. We went to the ice cream store together. So when you're with them at that level, and I'm not that much taller, we saw eye to eye. So I got a lot that they wouldn't tell their parents, and the day that the idea for Build-A-Bear came about was we went looking for Beanie Babies, which were really popular. And the store in our neighborhood that had a sign in the window that said they had it, when you walked in, they didn't, because the parents trolled the stores every day to buy them for the kids, which took the fun of the discovery away. And one of the things that we all learned, and I hope kids still do it, is, we used to go on field trips in elementary school. Right. We went to a dairy, to a bakery, to a factory. And I don't think that was necessarily what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I was always fascinated by how things were made. And most kids are. Yeah. And if you give them an inch, they will take a mile. Why aren't we giving them more inches of knowledge so they can say, I want to be that. I want to be that builder. I've always been a builder, not a builder of houses, but a builder of businesses, whether I was my business or the company's business. And that is really fun. And you get a sense of accomplishment that you can't really measure just by sales and profits every day. That certainly is a big way that the company measures it. But you get a sense of your strengths and your weaknesses, and you can bring people into the team that can do better than you. And now with AI, there's just all kinds of possibilities. But my teachers inspired that in me. My mother and father inspired that in me. That my mother would say to me, I'd ask her a question, say, go look it up in the World Book, which was the Google of the day. You'd go, and once I opened up the World Book, I would get lost in the World Book because I wanted to know everything that was in there. I loved the smell of it. I had no idea how much my parents sacrificed to buy it for me. I didn't know what it cost or anything. But that was what our tool was for doing our projects and homework. And then when we got to Google, I thought or the internet, I thought I could be there all day long.
Right.
But the idea is to make the world a little bit better place. And you don't have to have all the answers. The answers are out there in other people's ideas. I never thought it was a bad thing to share the idea of Build-A-Bear. I shared it with everybody I knew, kids and adults. The adults thought, why would anybody want to make their own stuffed animal? Why indeed, And kids, of course, had a million ideas for me. That's when I knew it was right, even before we opened up
How
the
many
first
bears
store.
do you have at your home?
Oh, I have hundreds. This one here is my husband gave me
That's
for
your knight in
Valentine's
shining
Day
armor.
a long time ago, and his name is Bobby because that's his name, and he's my knight in shining armor. And he sits in the back of the car in a seatbelt and goes with me everywhere I go.
So is this your favorite?
Is my favorite, and he is there. I can look in the back, and say hi, Bobby, even when my husband's not there. So. And people, I have come up to my car and people are looking in my car.
They're looking for Bobby.
And they're saying, oh, I thought it was you. Like they recognize me. That's another thing that I had never really thought about. Because Build-A-Bear is mostly children's company. We say 3 to 103, but a large percentage are children of some age. And that I would be recognized when I go to an airport or when I go, I could be in New York City and people recognize me and they say, you look familiar. And and I know they know I'm not a movie star or anything. So I said, have you ever been to Build-A-Bear? They go, oh yeah, and I can't walk in a store where they don't know me.
Right.
Even today, I have not worked there in a long time, but a picture of me must be in the back room. But I would say that they know the story because that's my story.
Absolutely.
My story of discovering myself. And a child makes an imaginary teddy bear that is in a wedding dress or in a football uniform or in a knight in shining armor or whatever the costume is. They're telling you something, and that's something that I pay attention to. When I go to the store, I love to watch the kids making their bears,
Right.
and if they walked out without putting an outfit on, that was also fine. But if they most of the time make something and put something on it, which is the bears prefer to be dressed. They're very modest, but also it's just their imagination comes alive. And I have not ever had anybody tell me on the street or wherever when they find out who I am a bad story about Build-A-Bear. They said, oh, I bet you tire of these stories. I said, no, I never tire of them. And we've had so many really heartwarming stories where
sure.
a child with cancer or a parent dies, but they recorded their voice in the bear. We have bears with their voice chips at the Evelyn's house hospice so that people that are passing into the next life can leave a message to their children or grandchildren. And that's been something special. Of course, we would always be able to do something like that and work with the people there to do it. But I didn't think of all those things. Our customers thought of them. Our sales associates thought of it. I created a canvas that more people could paint on, especially our customers, because it's a creative experience. It's a hands-on experience, like that field trip that we went on as children. And it's in your neighborhood. It's close by. You don't have to go far to go there. So, and I hope, and I think that is true, that children's imagination comes a lot from that feeding of making their own stuffed animals. Not every parent can afford to buy their children multiple animals, but even the birthday bear that you get to buy on your birthday for your age, pay your age day, is a wonderful bear, and you have that for the rest of your life. And I go to college campuses and speak, and people bring their bears to the classroom.
Oh, look, I'm going to tell you. So, and this is the thing. If you're just tuning in, Maxine Clark, we're talking about Build-A-Bear and the legacy coming up almost on 30 years. Right. We take and we go back to maybe a simpler time or maybe a harder time. You never know, what someone's upbringing is. I had a bear, Maxine, that when I had my blood clot when I was 19 years old, which was a very scary time, my parents were told I was going to die. I have that bear. And I had that bear at Mizzou, and I still have that bear to this day. And so it's that protection, right? You think about that. Important aspects. But she was just saying the creativity. Watch what they do. Watch their little minds. And you're molding them, or an educator is molding them. I love your transition. So she stepped down again in 2013. It's still obviously thriving, but the passion that she has inside is, I want to help the education system from kindergarten through 12th. So when did that start bubbling up in you?
I think it bubbled up in me when I was a child in school. I loved school. I loved my teachers. I'm so thankful to them. And when Build-A-Bear went public, I went to some of my teachers to give them a check, and none of them would take it. Because they said, I'm not responsible for your success. You're a great student. You're the kind every teacher wants to have, but give it to teachers, give it to education. And so I got involved in Teach for America, which is a wonderful organization where we brought young people here to teach, even if it was for 2 years, except in St. Louis, 60% of them are still in education. Now they've been here for a long time. They're principals and superintendents and good things like that. Or they're in companies teaching workforce development, like they work, one of our alums is at a Huffman Brothers, and she developed our whole training program so they could train their people internally, which is teaching, right? Teachers can do a lot of things besides just be a classroom teacher. And I knew that I was successful because of my teachers, and other children need that too. And now the teachers used to be mostly women because that was the job that the smartest women got.
Right.
Teacher, nurse, social worker, or secretary, and once they got able to do so many other things and make so much more money, they went to other things, still teaching as they go, mentoring and nurturing their employees, but not classroom teaching.
Right.
And we really do need to make that a focus. And I think our governor is working on that to help us get back to that. It's a long haul because the gap between what you can make as a math teacher and what you can make as an engineer are vastly different.
Absolutely.
And maybe rightfully so, but in some countries, teachers make the most money.
And they should. We always talk about first responders. My husband's a lieutenant with the county police. Our heroes in the world are teachers and the first responders.
Yes.
And they do not make enough.
Yeah. And you said something earlier about faith, and I believe in that. I am a spiritual person. I believe that God doesn't give you anything you can't handle, whether it was a tragedy like when my mother died when I was young, and my husband just recently had a stroke.
Right.
And you learn a lot about yourself in the difficult situations.
What did you learn?
Well, from my mother, when my mother passed away, my mother wanted, she had certain goals for me. My mother was an amazing person. She worked for Eleanor Roosevelt during World War II, was a traveling secretary, in which she and her friends founded a school for children with Down syndrome, but it wasn't called Down syndrome. My mother was very, I wouldn't call her a socialist, but I'm not sure what else to call her. She was so much for the underdog, for the poor people, for the underserved. And I wanted to be a capitalist. I wanted to make money. So I used to hear my mother on the phone begging for money. I didn't want to be the person on the other end of the phone. I wanted to have my own money and my own choices to contribute to what I wanted to contribute to. And so that was another aspect of working hard. I luckily went to work for the May Company, which was a very charitable company, and they matched your money that you gave. And I remember one time they called me up to a meeting which I didn't know I was going to, and they gave me a special plaque because I was the executive in the company a low level executive that had maxed out on the match, and I was not. It was to prove a point because the other people made more money than I did, could have had more of a match, but they didn't max out on the match. So that was another thing. Like, you don't have to give a lot to be recognized for giving, or that that your company helps you give more. I remember that. It was such a meaningful thing. So those are teachers. Those are teachable moments. And how do you set those up for others that work for you as well?
Right.
And if school has changed, there's no doubt about it. It's not the same as when I went to school. I'm not from St. Louis, but I've been involved in the creation of schools, of charter schools, of a magnet school in St. Louis Collegiate School of Medicine and Bioscience, because we needed more doctors, more women and more doctors of color, and we wanted to start them in high school and get them prepared. It is the number one school in Missouri now. Between Metro and Collegiate, they're the number 1 or 2 school. And now we have kids that have graduated because it's a relatively new school and are in medical school or veterinary school, or are studying biology, whatever, they're in the sciences, and they all look very different. They're not just young white people. They're people from near and far, and have. Luckily, we had a school it's a phenomenal school with a phenomenal leadership, and the superintendent at the time, Dr. Kelvin Adams, he was not always exactly for it, but he went with us on it, and he also made sure that we were listened to, even though he didn't want to have a favorite school. I think it was, well, I don't really know, but he knew that he allowed us to have our own board of advisors, not a board of we weren't a voting board, but we could guide the school, we could set up the internships, we could do all the things we knew were that we remembered from our schooling days, and put them back in school. So that's what those kids all have there. Every child should have that. Every single thing I've done in education, whether it's just mentoring a student at WashU or at SLU, talking to a high school student about going to college or going into a field, I want to listen to what they want, what their dreams are. so I can help guide them. It's not about what my dream for them is.
Right.
And I might think, well, gee, you can make a lot of money in construction, but you love science.
Right.
Now,
Don't
science is
push.
involved in construction. Don't get me wrong. Maybe you should be thinking about a degree in construction management or in engineering. So there are lots of, and they don't realize or they love sports and they don't realize how many businesses there are around sports that aren't playing the sport.
Right.
So still do your passion, because when you're doing your passion, you're not working, you're enjoying life, and
Absolutely.
it's like not work, it's play. And I love that.
You and I have a mutual friend. We're going to take a quick break, but you and I have a mutual friend. She complimented the bow I have on. A lot of you know we had Jennifer Bonacorsi from J. Bloom on. And to, again, watch these stories unfold from a dream, from passion, from kindness. Guaranteed, Maxine is where she is today. You keep hearing her say kindness, paying it forward, how important education is, how important listening is. Those are all key. Jennifer is the exact same way, and it's just learn from that. So as we go to the break, I want you to be thinking about those. You talked about your parents. You talked about other teachers. But who were the idols that you looked up to? But here's an also very interesting question. I just heard that in Gen Z and in millennials, this was talked about at church this weekend, 46 and 44% respectively are obsessed with wealth. And in fact, they're put so much pressure on themselves that if they don't have a company, buy a company, sell a company by the age of 30, that they feel less than. I would like your advice on that. We'll have that with Maxine when we return. Welcome to the mobile Monica version of the real Monica Adams Show at my favorite restaurant. There's something about a coffee house that's just very warm and welcoming.
Gives you that sense of community.
What are you most proud of since you've opened it?
I cry easily. I'm thankful for everybody here.
You opened the door during the middle of the pandemic. You got the best Italian restaurant in the United States. Here in St. Louis, you put us on the map. Does it scare you? Do you go through fear?
Terrifying.
So how do you get past the fear?
We find something to laugh about.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in and you're like, oh, is that Maxine Clark? Yes, you've missed a lot of the show. So the beauty of streaming is you can go back and watch. So watch from here forward and then go back. Some really great nuggets for those of you, whether you're a kid or you're a parent or you're a grandparent, how we can all help each other. So Maxine, I went into the break and said, I want you to answer a couple questions. One is idols beyond the teachers and beyond your mom and dad that you looked into as you were going along in business. The other is, should we be scared about what the world is saying that our Gen Z millennials should already have in wealth?
I had a lot of people that I looked up to. I don't know that I would have called them idols, because I'm not sure I would have used that word. But my next door neighbor, Doris Hale, she was like my second mother, and she lived to be 102.
Oh, wow.
And up until about her 100th birthday, she would come here for my birthday, and we would spend time together. And she was just this. I never knew her politics. Her husband was a basketball coach. Her kids played basketball, and we just were like, I could go in. Their door was never locked. I could walk in. Those days of growing up in a community, in a neighborhood, that really wouldn't have been possible without my father was in the military. He did not have a college degree. He learned his trade of being an electrician in the military, and he bought his house on the GI Bill. And we lived in this, 50s style neighborhood in Coral Gables, Florida, which now the houses are worth millions.
Right.
My dad sold it long before that, but the idea is that I grew up in a safe place, and all those people that I could go in their kitchen door without even knocking.
Yep.
Or my mother told me to knock.
Absolutely.
But were my idols. They were people that I looked up to. There was something about all of them. One was a doctor. One was a policeman. We had a fireman. We had a man who owned a construction company who built the project of homes. Around the corner, we had a man that owned a wholesale grocery business. I was curious about all those. And when I would go over their house, I'd be listening for those little tidbits. I didn't even know it. They were just being fed into me.
Right.
And that was my nosiness.
You were listening.
And I love to hear what adults were talking about. But I respected people who came from tough places and came to success and fought the battle. I think I know my mother would not agree with me on this, but the persons that I totally respected was Frank Sinatra, a tremendous musician. He knew the music that he was playing, and he knew the audience that he was singing it for. And that he lasted so many generations of people from being, not rock and roll, because it wasn't rock and roll then, but a swooner that people would listen to all the time on the radio, to being, an incredible Broadway show. And when I was old enough to go to his shows, I went to every show I could possibly get to, because he represented the best of the business. And I've met other people like that. So it doesn't matter what field you're in, and do what you love, and you will be the best at it, and you will inspire others, but you'll be happy. Your heart will be full and your bank account will be full. You don't have to have just one. You can have both.
Well, that's the whole comment of, if you do what you love, you'll never feel like you work a day in your life.
Yeah.
Well, and look at the influence that someone does. I mean, here you are, again, people who have watched this successful career, and she's influencing, and then people are, oh, I want to do this, or she's given me the strength of, I can walk away from this. At any age, I have this passion bubbling inside of me. I desire to do this. Frank Sinatra influenced so many swooners, like Michael Bublé. He wouldn't be, right, if it wasn't for Frank. Okay, so Delmar Divine. Tell me about Delmar Divine.
Delmar Divine is a project much like Build-A-Bear. It's a hug for a neighborhood, however. It's not a stuffed animal. It's a building stuffed with lots of amazing things that the neighborhood needed that they lost over the course of the last 100 years.
Okay.
It was a really prosperous neighborhood at the turn of the 19th to the 20th century, when the World's Fair was being built. It was a neighborhood of immigrants, so lots of people didn't look alike. They came there, and there were lots of delis and meat markets and, open stores. There was no malls in those days, so every street was a mall, so to speak, on that one. But it had declined over time as people had moved west to the county and to as far out as St. Charles, because St. Louis was growing. They wanted to have a swimming pool. They wanted the American dream, and the American dream didn't seem to be a house in the city, where you didn't have a big backyard and you didn't have your swimming pool.
Sure.
So people moved. Those were the natural things. But they also moved for racial reasons and other reasons that I wouldn't have been, I'm not proud of for St. Louis. Where I grew up in Miami, we had tremendous diversity. Because we had so many Cuban and Latin American refugees that came to Miami, that we had to learn Spanish. And I remember when you finally could communicate with your friends that had just recently moved, you felt like, wow, this is so cool. You didn't dread it. You didn't think it was a negative. You thought it was a positive. And I believe Miami, Florida would be under the Atlantic Ocean had not all of these immigrants come to help it rise up. But it is a bustling, I just was there a few weeks ago, it's just a bustling, wonderful place to be, and influence of fashion and music and all kinds of things that are there. Plus, they do preserve history there. They save a lot of buildings, and they have a plan for every building. I think what St. Louis didn't do is have a plan for what they were closing down. So I saw this building. It was right after Michael Brown had been killed, and I had been in the neighborhood of where he was killed and talking to young teenagers and realizing that we have all these resources to help them. We just have them spread out all over town. How could we build a place where we could build several together? So I found this big building, former St. Luke's Hospital, 500,000 square feet, needed a lot of work, and I knew I had to do it. It just had to be done. So I inquired about the price from the city of St. Louis, and sounded reasonable. Found Clayco helped me, develop it, and we now house. It's a multi-use project, so we have 150 apartments. We have 5 retail components. We have a restaurant, a bank, a pharmacy, an urgent care, and an Edward Jones office. This was never available, has been available for decades in that neighborhood. Not even a bank. So how can you save your money or get a loan or any of those things? How do you have people know you? And then we also have 40 nonprofits that house in our building. A third are education, a third are health and mental health, and a third are community development. And we live in this very spiritual hospital. I'm telling you, the ghosts look out for me there. So we've been through a flood, we've been through the tornado, and we come out, okay, and that's really good in a neighborhood that didn't come out so okay.
Right.
So somebody's looking over us, I believe. Because they want us to be successful. They want us to be able to do the good work. And we're able, because it's such a big building, to convene people, to bring people. So even if you're not a tenant, but you're a nonprofit and you want to bring your constituents together, you want to work with other nonprofits, we do that.
Okay.
Our phase 2, which is going to open up next year, is going to be 81 low-income apartments. But low-income is an interesting word. Teachers are low-income. So
Absolutely.
teachers could live there. And we're going to have a lot of activities that are going to reach out to the neighborhood beyond our building so that other people that live in low-income housing in our neighborhood, and there are a lot of them, will get the benefits of the resources that we have, the lifelong learning, the education, the job opportunities, learning about different things that we've taught in the community. We have a big Medicare review every year early in the fall so that people can know what their plan is and know if they need to change their plan or are just new to Medicare. We do a lot of things about voter rights and all of the elected officials in our city, in our ward. They come and have meetings at our town halls. We have big facility to do that, and it's open and it's safe and it's warm and welcoming, and that's really what people want. And it's neutral. It's on Delmar, but if you live on the south of Delmar or the north of Delmar, and now people don't talk about the divide anymore. They talk about the divine, and that was also a spiritual moment. Like one of the art, if you come to our building, you'll see the art in our building is, I didn't have money to buy art. We were way out of money by that point. But a friend of mine lived in Ferguson, and when they were boarding up the buildings in Ferguson, she was there, and she was also watching the artists paint on those boards. And when they were tearing them down, she got a truck and rescued them. And she said, "Do you think your building's going to be big enough to house these? Because they're gigantic." I said, I think so. And she had them in storage for me for 9 years. And
gosh.
They're all over the place. And one talks about divine order. But the others, they're about healing. The artists came out to help themselves heal, even if they didn't even live in Ferguson. All of us wanted to feel better and go on to the being a better human being because of it. And I think we have. And so Delmar Divine Build-A-Bear took 9 months from idea to reality. This took 9 years because it's a complicated project. It's an old building. It had a lot of challenges. The city was very helpful, so it wasn't about the city. It's raising the money to do it, getting the mortgages that you need in place, the tax credits. So it's very complicated capital stack. But I took a company public, a little company from St. Louis,
in
Missouri.
7 years.
I figured we could figure it out, and we did figure it out. I'm not afraid to ask the people that know how to do it, and I'm not afraid to pay them. And that's another thing that happens. A lot of times people think because it's a nonprofit, you should get things for free. You can't do that. If you want economic prosperity in your community, you have to be willing to pay for the services that you're getting, and a fair wage too.
It's interesting you say that because, working in television and radio for 30 years, it was always us being told by the companies we work for, you have to go do an MC, you have to do auctioneering, and you had to, right? You weren't getting paid for it. And when I stepped away, my manager stepped in and she said, "No, Monica, nonprofits have money for this. They know that you're going to bring them a lot of money, so no more are you going to do it for free." And this is what launched the whole Know Your Value, right? But it is hard because it's tugging on your heartstrings to say, but it's a nonprofit. Yes, but you're bringing that service to them, by the way.
And you also create an energy and an enthusiasm there that's bar none. I mean, we all need it, and it makes such a difference.
Again, it's an interesting way to think of it because I know that your mind can think the other way. Let's put this on the screen. DelmarDivine.com, by the way. We do want you to know more about it if it's something that you're just hearing about today. Sounds fabulous, right?
It is fabulous.
I need you all, and we've been showing a lot of video and pictures of it, and then again, more to come, as Maxine had said. So this is where you are now. Do you ever see yourself slowing down? We've been talking about rushing women syndrome a lot lately, about go, 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 go. But you've also learned the art of delegating, though, and trusting others. Do you see yourself ever retiring?
Well, I'm sure there'll be a point at which I can't do what I'm doing now, and I hope that comes 25 years from now. But I would say that it gives me energy. The young people, the people in the community, the people that welcome you when you think that they wouldn't, but they actually did. I think being the founder of Build-A-Bear helped because they said, "How bad can she be? Teddy bears," But they honestly were so welcoming to me in this neighborhood. And I spent 9 years. The good thing about the 9 years was I got to know them as friends and family, and also to know their stories. And so we recorded a lot of their stories. It's what gave me the fuel. It kept giving me the fuel when things looked like they might not happen.
Right.
I said, I got to do this. I've told the people I'm going to do it. I can't let them down. And I think they were used to people letting them down, so they wouldn't have been surprised. But I think that endeared me to them. And they're amazing people. And they bring me their children and their grandchildren, and they tell me their Build-A-Bear stories. So it's so connected because it really is a hug for a neighborhood. I say that because we turn this neighborhood around, and other organizations developed. Some were there already, and others developed in the same time zone, and we're all working together towards the economic prosperity, so that all people have access to the job that they want. If they want to be an entrepreneur, we're all for that. But I also tell young people, Go get it. If you want to be own a pharmacy, go work in one. They hire
Absolutely.
people that aren't
Immerse
pharmacists.
yourself,
Go get experience and listen and learn and see what the people tell you they like and not like, and be really friendly to the customers, because they're going to tell you, they're going to appreciate you.
Right.
They can tell, and since COVID particularly, I think people have seen a change in the customer service profile that they get when they go into a store. And even we've seen some stores that we really know and trust go out of business because the restaurants especially that just couldn't make it without the customers. They needed not only the good experience, the good food, they needed the people to show up. So we're really working hard on that at Delmar, because last year we opened up 8 new restaurants on Delmar, and we created an event through our family foundation called Delish on Delmar, and it was phenomenally successful. And we had it again this year, and I was going to wait till spring, but the neighbors really wanted it. And so I said, okay, we'll do it. And it was more successful than last year. And I was worried about it because so many of the local neighbors have had to move somewhere else while their house is being repaired. But we had a higher turnout than last year. And so it says that people want to come and have fun in our neighborhood. This is one of our strengths in St. Louis. We have great food, we have great music, we have great art. And when you put those things together and you move it around to a neighborhood that maybe people didn't always have access to it, you start to see how people come out. People were line dancing, they were listening. We had 3 different singing groups on the stage, and the last one was the Motown Review, and that everybody can
incredible.
sing. Everybody can sing to that, and dance to that. So that was really fun. There's certain things that just warm everybody's heart, and you have to put them together. And I hired the guy to help me set up the tables, and we could have gotten volunteers, but I said, no, this is somebody's business. I want to help them be successful. And he's done it 2 years in a row, done a phenomenal job. And I love that when you can give people work. And they appreciate it, and they know you're going to come back to them again, or they hope you are, because they did a good job.
Sure.
So that's how we build prosperity. I always say to people, the best investment you can make in an entrepreneur in St. Louis, a business, that is to buy from them.
Absolutely.
Is to give them an order and try it out. And then if it's not going the way you want, give the feedback.
Right.
And I say to the people that know your customer, what does your customer want? Everything isn't social media.
Right.
And everything isn't, you got to get out there, and they got to know who you are, and they want to trust you. We have a lot of new business in St. Louis thanks to Arch Grants, which I happen to be on the board of. But Arch Grants is one that really wants to bring people from other cities to St. Louis to see how wonderful it is to run a business in St. Louis and live here and have your family here. It's such an affordable place. We have everything that it takes to be the most prosperous city in the Midwest.
Agreed.
And we just need to all be on that same story, because sometimes we're the most critical. I'm not. I come from another state, but I always loved St. Louis, because I bought a house in Lafayette Square when I moved here. I loved history. But we have everything you could possibly want. Nothing's very far away. Let's work on it together.
Well, I'm going to blame the media. Where I used to work, it's the picture that's been painted about St. Louis that keeps people away. And if you see all these eyesores and you see businesses closing, it's because you're not giving them business. We have to keep supporting, or this whole city is going to fall apart. So yes, it's important that we start changing that whole narrative of, oh, St. Louis, oh, crime, right? She's telling you.
Every city you go to, I just came from Miami.
Yes.
There's closed stores
Absolutely.
in Miami too. There's closed restaurants. There's crime in Miami. Every city has their share of it. And we have to, the more people that are in an area, like in our neighborhood where we brought so many people to it, we have 1,000 people coming and going every day. We've brought the crime rate, it wasn't big anyway, but it was there. We brought it down to almost zero. It's hardly any, because people are looking out for each other.
Exactly.
And density of people makes a difference.
Right.
And it's a catch-22, but in St. Louis, we have so much potential, and our crime is no worse than anywhere else, and it's gotten a whole lot better. Unfortunately, we live in a world where people are mad, and people have access to guns, and they're angry, and they're frustrated. They don't have a job, and they didn't get a good education, and that's all of our responsibilities to whatever our interest level is. How can we bring them to success?
And I love the fact that you said it earlier. And this is the part that we always end with, which is kindness, right? See how you can help your neighbor. Get out of your own way. Listen to them, and they'll, give back to you. This is what I need. And then when it's your time in need, if you were kind to them, they'll give it back to you as well. All right, our final wrap up. So my director, Zach, was like, she's met some really cool people at some of her openings. She met the Jonas Brothers. All right, I'm going to ask you about that. And then think about anyone else. I can tell you, probably her favorite, though, is the everyday mom and pop and kids and all those stories that you've given her because of these bears. But yes, it has some perks to it. We'll talk about that as we wrap up with Maxine Clark when we return. Welcome
Welcome to the mobile Monica version of the real Monica Adams Show at my favorite restaurant.
There's something about a coffee house that's just very warm and welcoming.
Gives you that sense of community.
What are you most proud of since you've opened it?
I cry easily. I'm thankful for everybody here.
You opened the door during the middle of the pandemic. You got the best Italian restaurant in the United States. Here in St. Louis, you put us on the map.
Does it scare you? You go through fear?
Terrifying.
So how do you get past the fear?
We find something to laugh about.
Well, welcome back. If you're just tuning in at the end of the show, we've been talking with Maxine Clark. Yes, Build-A-Bear Workshop. Again, 1997, and look at how they are thriving with over 600 stores, 250 million bears, and just so many hearts that have been lifted up because of what a bear can do, and pay that forward as well, right? That whole aspect of kindness. So you've had a bunch of store openings, Maxine, and met some really cool people. Who has stood out to you?
Well, I didn't meet her at a store opening, but the person I met that really impacted me the most was Oprah. This is a good story. She called, one of her people called and said, we want to put Build-A-Bear on our show. And I was in Far East. We were opening a store in Japan.
Okay.
And so my PR person calls and said, you got to get back. I said, I'm not getting back. I'm here to open up a store. And then the next call was from the producer of the show. And she said, well, can you be here by Tuesday? I said, no, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm going to Korea. We're opening a store in Korea. The next call was from Oprah. And she said, Maxine, this is Oprah Winfrey. Of course, I knew who it was. And she said, when can you be here? And I said, I could be there by Thursday. So she said, that's perfect. Who do I contact to get a Build-A-Bear store put up here in our studio? And we will that'll give us time to do that. So we put her in touch with the person, and we were on for 11 minutes. You know what 11 minutes cost on the Oprah show.
Oh, yeah.
And she was making a bear. We gave bears to people in the audience. The phones were ringing back at home on the call line. She made a bear, and she was so dramatic as she was making it. And she made a bear for Quincy Jones, who was her really good friends. And then about 6 or 8 months later, she called us and asked us if we would go with her to Africa, where she puts on a Christmas event. And we got a whole bunch of equipment there, and it's probably still there, sitting there somewhere, and put on a presentation, a store opening, basically for all of these kids that go to her school and this community in Johannesburg. And then we opened up a store a few years later, and many of those people came to work for us that worked in that temporary store.
Cool.
So Oprah is an amazing, and she knows it, and she also knows when to hold them, when to stop, So she has her the way she does it now is not as much as the way she did it before.
Right.
And not because she has enough, but because she wants to make room for others. And I think she's done that. And I think that's the part that I respect about her the most. I learned so much being with her for a week. We were there for a week. It was just an incredible experience to pop up a store in South Africa with the most wonderful associates who'd never been to a Build-A-Bear, did not have a stuffed animal. They got it right away. They wrote songs about Build-A-Bear. It was so great. And so near or far, there's certain things that bring people together. And some of that, you're talking about kindness, is the softness of a teddy bear.
Absolutely.
The softness of a person.
How can you not be happy?
I know. And a hug. A hug is worth 1,000 words. And so Oprah's a really big hugger, but so are a lot of people. And I think that some people just don't like to do that. That's all fine. And COVID sort of set us back on that. But I believe that that's what we need is a hug. Now, the literal hug is one thing. The caring about the person, the making a connection for them is so simple. There's nothing. Some things take 5 minutes.
Right.
A 5-minute kindness. Some things take 5 hours, but still they make a difference in that person's life, especially a young person who is really looking for mentors besides their parents. Or somebody to kind of, the parents like it when you agree that you're telling them something they already told them. It makes it more legitimate. But, sometimes that's what's necessary. I know that because that was my life too.
Sure.
My parents' friends, I listened in on all their conversations. I knew the ones that were really successful. I don't know if I knew what success was in terms of money or possessions, because everybody had a house in those days.
Right.
It was but today I think it is a little bit different, and I really work to specifically find out what it is that people want and how do I help them get that. If they want their own business, if they want to work for a different company, if they want to go back to school and get their degree, I try to find out what it is and like make that proper connection for them, because we need nurses, we need construction workers, we need teachers, we need so many things, and young people want to do those things, but they're thinking, I can't make enough money. It's kind of to the thing you said earlier.
Exactly.
And heart work is the best work. And it's hard work.
Show up.
It's hard work, but it's heart work. And heart work is really what tells you who you are as a person and gives you the most fulfillment in life.
Absolutely. Yeah. Don't climb all over people. Forget where your roots are, where you came from, because it all comes back some way. It's our lives are cyclical. It'll be, remember? My dad always said, be as kind to the janitor as you are to the president of the company. All in between there. Again, see, I told you, we always bring kindness. So I went to the break and I said, because I knew you would all want to go, can I get this? No. No. A very special business plan. This was put together for you from a friend.
Yeah, I wrote the business plan. I gave it to the new CEO when she came, and she had it printed a copy, had it bound into a book, and I believe she has a copy too. That's the only 2 copies. But I guard it with my life because it's a permanent reminder. It's a permanent reminder that we can do it. Yep. We can do what we say we're going to do if we have a plan. And planning takes time.
Sure.
But it is worth it for yourself, because you got to convince yourself before you can convince others, especially bankers, that you're going to need their help too eventually. And people, they may not read every word of it, but those people that you need to convince will see that you have it, and they will know that it means something to you.
I want to end with this because I want to see what her response is. Again, our mutual friend, Professor Jerry Schultz, who is another brilliant woman. And I just love strong women that believe in themselves, women that are not catty, right? That want to help lift each other up and not tear each other down. So she said she set the bar high and expectations higher every day. Now, she said, here's what I want to say. She's a confidant. She's a coach. She's a mentor, a leader. She's extraordinary, quietly stated, always in the spotlight to help women in business. What does that mean to you?
Oh, that is a wonderful statement. I really appreciate that from Jerry, because that is what I like to do, and I don't even conscious of it. It's just who I am. Yeah. I meet people along the way, and there's not one person I've met that I've given a kindness to or a help to that hasn't given me something back. It is multiples. It's multiples. And so if it got me to that statement from her, then it's certainly all worth it. But there's so much more to come, and I look at people like Jerry and for guidance and friendship. And you mentioned Jennifer Brada Corsi. She, I've known her a long time too. When she worked in our company, not in the May Company early days, and she and her husband went and started this incredible business, and it's a family business, and they're such high quality. They're just kind people, yes. And they train their people. They have wonderful events that they put on for them. And I was speaking at one, and I was so motivated. I mean, I was just like, I want to go back and like even reinvent the Build-A-Bear one, which I thought was pretty darn good, But see, people are doing this all over. It's not just Build-A-Bear.
Right.
They're wonderful entrepreneurs that started their business with heart, with something that they loved. I mean, Jennifer has phenomenal taste.
Yes.
And they've started an affordability. She knows that it has to be affordable for most women to be able to sell it and to wear it. And so I respect that. That's what I was like. My parents weren't rich. My mother made my clothes.
Yeah, same here.
And I feel very lucky when somebody would say, "Oh, that's a beautiful dress. Where'd you
mama.
Get it?" Yeah, and those are things that make us into who we are. And maybe at the time we wish we could have that new dress at the store bought.
Right.
But as my mother said, you won't even remember that 10 years from now. You won't remember it at all. And that is so true. I don't remember what I didn't get. I remember all the things that I did have that made my life what it is. It built it towards what it is today. All those teachers, all those neighbors, all those kids in my neighborhood that we're still friends today. And it just keeps feeding itself as long as you let it.
As long as you let it, and you all make a difference. We say that all the time. If you don't think you can change the course of someone's life by kindness or anger, if they give you power, on the anger side, which is what we always try to say, don't give them power. They don't ultimately know the outcome of your life. You do. Just believe in yourself, right? You are a pleasure. I knew this would be a great interview. I could just feel it by Jerry saying, "Oh, you two are going to have so much fun together." We could go on for hours, but she's got to get to a meeting at Delmar Divine. Again, I want you, so if people reach out to you on social media, is it you writing back?
Yes, it is.
I want you all to know that. So is X your best platform?
No, I'd say maybe Instagram. Well, I go on connect. I don't go that often. There are so many of them. Or LinkedIn.
Okay.
LinkedIn's probably really the
LinkedIn.
best.
So we have multiple that Gabriel's going to drop in for you of how you can reach out and just, tell her a story about how a bear changed your life or what she's doing now in the education aspect. Maxine, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It was a pleasure. All of you, thank you. We will wrap up. I always like to wrap up with a devotional. So the devotional is to come. Don't go anywhere. The wrap up of the Real Monica Adams Show next. Wasn't that fun? We interviewed her just about a week or so ago on set, and I really truly could have talked to her for hours and hours. So again, Professor Jerry Schultz from St. Charles Community College, thank you for hooking us up. I always ask you if you've got someone that's just super exciting that you would love to be on our show, shoot me an email. Here you go, info@therealmonicaadams.com. Use that email for questions, for topics, for guests. You want to inquire about being a sponsor on the show, which a lady wrote me the other day asking about. You're an author and want to hear about the author spotlights that we have, or as someone was writing earlier, talking about a brand new business getting ready to open and thinking how cool would it be to have a mobile Monica live from that business. Yes, let's do all the things. All right. So let's just move into 2026 and really be that small business solution. That is what we're here for. Small business, lifting up small business. And as I say that, if you didn't hear, again, at the beginning of the show, we ran down the two big shows coming up in December 5th and December 12th. Mark those on your calendar. I would love to meet so many of you that watch us on a regular basis. So we've got December 5th first, and that is going to be the 750th show celebration. I'm going to say 9 to noon because, again, we're going to probably have so much fun at breakfast and then shopping. It might go a little bit longer, but 9 to 11 for sure. We'll be out shopping with you, eating breakfast with you, having a little coffee or tea. It'll be at the beginning, Upshot Coffee in Cottleville, and then we'll go right behind there and go to Blooming Daisy Marketplace. Then we'll feature the ladies that own the Craft Cottage and Oh My Posh Boutique. We also, on December 12th, will be going to Christopher's and Ma Gifts. It's the brands together, Christopher's and Mark Anthony's. They are all about be kind and gift kindly. That is at 7 a.m. on December 12th. And so I'm so excited, as many of you are probably like me, haven't even begun to think about Christmas. We're going to get our shopping done on the 5th and the 12th together. All right. I love to wrap up with the devotional, and I've got so many right here by me. I'm feeling the too blessed to be stressed today. And I went to open it up to the one that I turned down, which is his handiwork. I'm going to read a couple to you because there was another one and I don't know who turned it down. That's the interesting thing. Like, who got into my book and turned it down? His handiwork. For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. This is Ephesians 2, verses 10. Does your self-esteem need a boost? Sure, right? Everybody has weaknesses, but everybody has strengths too. Focus on those. Find out what your strengths and your talents are. Assess your spiritual gifts and your dominant personality traits. In fact, Google personality traits. There are tons of choices if you need a little help. Ask your pastor, your spouse, a trusted friend to review the results with you. And then identify your strengths. Look in the mirror and say, I am this, I am that, right? So stop the negative self-talk if you can. Now focus your energies for service in these areas. Set yourself up for success. When you find your niche, you'll feel great about yourself. You'll also feel God's warm, encouraging smile. Dear God, I want to do your will with the unique strengths and gifts you've given me. Please help me to bring glory to you. Amen to that. And as I said, I'm going to give you a bonus one because there's one turned down that my dear friend who gave this to me. This is from Michelle, by the way. She said, to add to your library of faith. I love you dearly. I'm going to see her this afternoon. If you didn't hear, we do have What Your Whistle Wednesday with Michelle and myself. We'll be talking about Tuscany and doing her little recap of her trip, making an Italian drink. So join us at 4 o'clock this afternoon. So she must have turned this one down. The Garden of Friendship. You are better off to have a friend than to be all alone. Boy, that's true, because then you'll get more enjoyment out of what you earn. If you fall, your friend, of course, can help you up. But if you fall without having a friend nearby, well, you're really in trouble. But they say that the best friends will push you back down and then fall down the floor with you and laugh together, right? That's a best friend. Ecclesiastes 4, verses 9 through 10 was the Garden of Friendship verse. Have you ever seen an overgrown garden, a once beautiful, well-tended, manicured landscape that has grown unkept and ugly, right? It was beautiful. And then what the heck happened to it? The lovely place that once lit eyes with gladness begins to turn them away in repulsion. all because of a lack of inattention, lack of investment, indifference. So, how do we find time to nurture friendships so they don't become like neglected gardens, to be the friend that our friend needs? Make girlfriend and guy friend time a priority. And I do really believe that we need both. And then spouse time and dates, right? Do life together, grow together. Let her know you're thinking about her and praying for her often, or him. Celebrate together for anything and everything. Hold hands through the tough times. Yeah, dear God, please bless me with good girlfriends and guy friends and help me to be a good friend back to them. Amen to that. I love that. So again, too blessed to be stressed. It says 3-minute devotions for women, but look, guys can use this inspiration as well. Deborah Cody is the one behind that. I hope you truly enjoyed the show. God bless you as well, Christy. I appreciate that. We are having a wonderful time doing great things. So I have a friend that watches us and is a big part of the show, and she's done these cultivating a vision segments with me. She's in Canada. Her name is Kasia Sitar. So I'll give a little shout out to her right now. If you're on Instagram, I'd highly recommend you seek her out and follow her. It's Kasia. Kasia Sitarz, Sitarz. Well, she had written me and said, Monica, I really would love for you to have this guy on that he actually was just in town, by the way, for a wellness event in St. Louis. Missed it, unfortunately, but we're going to have him on. He's known as Big Dream Hakeem. Big Dream Hakeem, and he's all about choose yourself. He's got a community called CYC, and I'm not talking about CYC Sports. Choose Yourself Community. And I told him I was sorry that I missed the event here, but that I would love to have him on my show. So he's going to join us tomorrow. And then on Friday, we're going to feature, for all of you that have been saying you wanted me to feature Eckertz, we're going to feature the vice president of Eckertz. And we're going to make something called wassail. It looks like wassail. Wassail. We're going to make a drink and then talk about the pies, talk about the pick your own fruit, talk about all the holiday events they have coming up. So Jill, the vice president of Eckertz, will be our guest in the Slyman Brothers kitchen for our Foodie Friday. So that's what's coming up for you over the next couple of days. Again, topics, guest, bring them my way. Sponsors, Mobile Monica ideas, personal training clients, life coaching clients, design and wardrobe clients. There's so much that we can do for you right here in this brand of The Real Monica Adams Show. Thank you so much to all of you. Do me a favor now, take this show and share it like crazy with your friends and your family. And then we'll see you tomorrow morning. But until then, in the next 24 hours, reach out to someone new, wherever your travels take you today. Look them in the eye, give them a compliment, because that's showing kindness, right? And the greatest thing we can be is being kind. God bless you. See you tomorrow.